Hello, Imanji. Welcome to CSA Bangalore chapter.
Hi, Pradeep. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. So just to introduce Hemanji to the audience, so Hemant Mishra ji has worked in IBM research and then Swiggy research as well as Simple in data applied sciences. So he has worked as senior vice president in his last role. So he has worked on multiple companies in a senior position in AI, data science, and cybersecurity and all. So today he joins us to give us his insights on AI, cybersecurity, cybercrime, and so on. So welcome again, Hemantji.
Thank you.
Okay. So just to understand, as you are hearing that there are a lot of traction happening on generative AI and cybersecurity and so on of late. So what are your thoughts on generative AI and its impact on cyber security in current scenario?
So, Pradeep, pretty interesting question, and obviously the answer is pretty, deep. We'll try to touch upon certain things just to make it sure that our audience get a feel how the things are evolving. So, Gen AI, as we know, in the last couple of years, it has become a very, very strong tool, and people across the world they are using it. And obviously, the use of Gen AI, if we look at it for our day to day work, it has really streamlined many things. And the same tool, when it is in the hands of people who are into cyber crimes, they become extremely powerful because it's a double-edged sword. Anything which is a very strong tool, it has repercussions as well as benefits, and that's the place where Gen AI is at this point of time. And the the biggest issue which we are going to face is that if the ability to discriminate something, whether it has been generated by a human or by a machine, if it start keeps blurring, which Gen AI has been able to do in a very significant fashion, uh, that's the place where the trouble is. And there are examples over examples if we look at it. So let's say think of it that uh, you know we can write the whole report using Gen AI, and if a whole report can be written using Gen AI, think of the possibilities that a phishing attack needs to be created by Gen AI, right? And it'll be so sophisticated, means one of the methods which we typically may have used in the past when we were looking at whether it's a phishing attack or it's something which is a spam, that what's the kind of words which have been used. The vocabulary was not very sophisticated. On occasion, there were certain words which we were able to see that, they are leading to the spam, but all of that distinction is getting blurred. And even the tools which are there for detecting these, because human is also is one part of the overall system when we try to stop these crimes. But the issue is that the automated tools which are there to stop them, they themselves are going to get compromised. So maybe in the time to come, it's going to be a machine to machine war where machines are generating and machines are stopping. And think of it that if it is to be done at the scale where machines come into the picture, a single error could be extremely expensive, right? And that's the place where things are going to get very complicated, and how the landing will happen, it's very difficult to see. But it's a game, I feel, which is like the usual cat and mouse game: virus, antivirus, right? And the things which we have seen in the past, except that these games are going to be so much more sophisticated because we are having much more sophisticated tools to attack as well as defend. So that's where we are going to be in the time to come. Let's see how the things happen, because Gen AI has just started, and if you look at it, things will become more sophisticated in the time to come. Think of it, the start of the Gen AI was mainly with NLP, right? And then it's a multimodality now. And think of it that earlier I was sending, let's say, a text. So let's say I email text goes from my email ID to you because my system has been compromised. There
Yeah.
is a chance you may click on it. But let's say think of it, it's a multimedia message where the person who is impersonating me or the avatar of is so much real that you cannot disambiguate. And if that disambiguation cannot happen, maybe you'll believe everything which has been said. So uh, the point is, it becoming multimodality. That's another way, you say that the sophistication is going to be so much uh, superior. And if
Okay.
this superiority comes in, the trouble also. Because think of it as a human, I look at clues that,
Mhm.
okay, maybe I will look at this, whether Pradeep writes in a particular way or not. But the situation is now Pradeep can be copied so well because
Mm.
there is enough information which, enough mails Pradeep may have written. And then I said, okay, is it looking like Pradeep? Definitely, the avatar is looking like Pradeep. Now,
Yeah.
is the avatar speaking like Pradeep? And yes, avatar is speaking like Pradeep. So where are my cues on the
Correct.
basis of which I may be able to disambiguate? And think of it that the authenticity of the message, if keeps going up,
Okay.
uh, maybe the best, the organizations which are having resources, they may still be able to, let's say, create certain kind of barriers. But the mass which is there, who do not have access to very sophisticated tools,
Mm.
they will be really vulnerable. Right. So this is the place where the things are. Let's see how it rolls out. Uh,
Okay.
no questions. Future is going to be very, very interesting and challenging,
Yeah.
depending on from what side we are looking.
Yeah, you put anyway light on how things are going to shape up. So, how is this Gen AI influencing phishing? Anyway, you have covered a couple of topics there, but yeah, to dig deep into it. So, how is this Gen AI influencing phishing, malware generation, and then the cybercrime tactics?
So the biggest difference, Pradeep, which I'm seeing is the quality.
Mhm.
That quality of generation, which can be done at mass, is no more a concern.
Mhm.
And that quality is something which will be so deceiving that I'm not in a position to distinguish.
Mhm.
And as a human, if I'm not in a position to distinguish, there is a high possibility machines will also get fooled, right? Because when we are talking about artificial intelligence, the place where AI, becomes very sophisticated or better than humans is that it's fast, one thing, and it is having information from a lot of experts, which it has been able to crunch. And if both the pieces of information can get compromised, because let's say I'm also an expert of AI, if I can be fooled and many other AI experts can be fooled, it means there is a high possibility machine can also be fooled. And as I said, means more authenticity of the message, more the likelihood I may get victim by it, fall victim to this. And if you go deeper into any of these, I'll try to bring some examples, Pradeep, from the recent future, kind of recent past, basically. And if you look at it, you may have heard of this Stuck Next, right?
Yeah,
The what you say, the sabotage of the Iranian nuclear facility,
correct.
right?
Correct.
And it's a very fascinating case if you really look at it. Uh, Except that the way you may have to interpret it is that it's from cyber crime or cyber security. It has gone into the realms of cyber weapons,
Correct.
right? The first time it was shown by the techniques that a malware can lead to a physical damage,
Yeah.
right? And
Correct.
now think of it that when I was trying to read, about this whole episode, there were 4 0-day vulnerabilities which were there, right? And these vulnerabilities will always exist. When a system gets designed, despite our best efforts, we are not able to look at all the scenarios where the system may crack, right? So
Mhm.
when a human design system is there, vulnerabilities are there. These vulnerabilities, sometimes we are aware, sometimes being aware, we are not in a position to provide a patch because we need some time. And
Mhm.
these 0 days vulnerabilities, 4 of them, they were exploited. And some of the things, if you look at it, they were so sophisticated that if they come into what you say, the public space,
Mhm.
they can create havoc. And the biggest of them was that a USB drive being put into the Explorer
Mhm.
without it being clicked.
Okay.
The malware came inside.
Uh-huh.
Now, think of it that, we always said that do not click on the thing.
Correct.
But it seems that clicking is no more the challenge, right? One
Yeah.
part. Second part, this malware without human intervention, it gave itself admin accesses. Another 0-day vulnerability which was there.
Mhm.
And the third thing which it went ahead was so there were two admin level things which two vulnerabilities, the access being provided. But the third one was it was that it spread across the network without even being clicked.
Okay.
Now, these things, Pradeep, you have been part of the system. I have been part of the system for
Yeah.
decades. We always heard that clicking is to be avoided.
Correct.
Right. The emails do land on our the system, but we try to decipher and we said that let's not click.
Yeah.
But it seems that those barriers on occasion can also be reached. And if this particular one was a very sophisticated one, and maybe many experts they came together and built this system. But the
Mhm.
point is, it shows that these vulnerabilities exist and they can be exploited. And
Yeah.
if this exploitation can go to the public side, as I was mentioning, earlier,
Mhm.
that's the place where people are not even aware that, let's say, you do not click or something, and let's say still the things may happen.
Yeah.
So the level of sophistication, the level of damage, the level of what you say, cost which is involved is so much higher, right?
Yeah.
So this is the place where I feel that it's getting very very complicated.
Okay. Interesting insights. So, what do you think that the security controls are needed to mitigate these risks from AI generated content?
So see, some of the risks can be mitigated, Pradeep, by the old and tested methods. To be honest, because whatever sophistication you bring, right, the Gen AI is becoming more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, isolation of the systems, for example, right?
Mhm.
Need-based access, humans being trained, right? So these things are the ones which are like what you say, they are the old set of tools which we have, right? And we have to make it sure that we keep, improvising these old set of tools as per the need. Now, the second place is where maybe certain, the companies who are into the Gen AI space, right?
Mhm.
They also need to play a
Okay.
especially the ones which are, responsible AI when we talk about it. And what I mean to say is that fingerprints can be left when the content is getting generated,
Okay.
so that the receiving side knows that this is something that has been generated by AI. Now,
Mhm.
this being embedded is something which is my feeling is that every um, Gen AI or every AI company should be very seriously looking at each of this, because bringing the sophistication, you are solving one set of problems, but if another set of problems are getting created, if they can be nipped in the bud, that is the better way of looking at it, right?
Mhm.
And then the third is obviously just an aeroplane is passing by, Pradeep. I live close to the old airport,
Okay.
right? All right, it has passed. So, right. So, and the third set is Pradeep, where it's a cat and mouse game. If you look at the end of the day, so Gen AI being made sophisticated by the the rogue elements who are going to exploit it.
Correct.
On the other side, there will be the people who will be sitting and they will be looking at the possibilities that how it can be. Uh, Except that it's still the biggest challenge which Gen AI poses, Pradeep, in my mind is Gen AI is a generative capability. If you look at it, right?
Correct. Agree.
And let's say when it is generative capability, it can generate versions of malware, for example. right?
Yeah.
Some of them may not be what you say could be part of the hallucination, that they will not work, let's say.
Correct.
But then there is a lot which can be generated, which may be a more sophisticated version of the same malware, right? Or maybe combining the information from different malwares, how they act. A new system gets created, which is so much more difficult to crack, right? This is the place where GenAI's generated content, right,
Mhm.
is going to be more difficult to beat. And there's a challenge. That's the place where I feel that I do not have a very proper answer, that
Mhm.
GenAI has to fight with GenAI.
Mhm.
What are the best method? Maybe anomaly is one possibility, anomaly
Mhm.
detection. But anomaly detection, as we know, it has its own limitations,
Okay.
because if you put the threshold in a certain fashion, the friction may become so much higher, right?
Mhm.
So a mixture of experts, some from the old school thought, need-based access, the way I mentioned, how much volume per second, captcha, for example. All of this is something to factor authentication, or maybe more if the systems are more sophisticated. All of
Okay.
this is something going to exist to stop the big chunk of it. And then, Gen AI companies, they will have to take something. And then towards the end, means the engineers will be building new capabilities using Gen AI. And
Mhm.
that's the place, I think, where the world will be distributed.
Okay. Okay. So, how do you think can organizations securely leverage GenAI for security automation and then threat intelligence?
So as I mentioned, means Gen
Yeah.
AI being powerful,
Mhm.
you may have to experiment.
Okay.
You may, so think of it right now, Pradeep, and this is speculation slightly, because we are talking about certain technologies which are evolving, right? And there is no good answer to this. So that's why I'm going into the speculation, what you say, real. Typically, I do not prefer going there
Okay.
because things are, too complicated. But
Okay.
think of it that, are the new engineers who are on the cybersecurity side, would they prefer generating new malware, for example,
Okay.
and trying to make it sure that they are better protected?
Mhm.
Because those days may be over where the attack happens and you try to prevent. You may have to prepare.
Mhm.
And the way the attacker is utilizing that tool for generating more sophisticated possibility of how to attack, exploiting the vulnerabilities, these white hackers, they have to do it on their side. And in the process, many of the things which will be discovered by the other side, these people may have discovered, and they may start putting the patches for them.
Mhm.
Because if the current system of attack comes, and then we try to provide antidote, or we try to detect, and that may be something which will be which may not have a long life, because Gen AI is very sophisticated when it comes to generation, right? So that's where I think the game will have to be uh, played in a different fashion. And
Okay.
it's believe me, it's very much possible to play it in this fashion,
Okay.
because if the people are smart on the other side, we have smart people on this side as well, who are preventing the attacks. So they have to come with innovation now. And Gen AI, the way, if you look at my description, I was saying Gen AI, the generative tool.
Mhm.
Use the power of that tool to create those scenarios now,
Mhm.
right? And if you can create, or let's say you can, what you say, expand those scenarios, right? Before the attack happens, you are prepared.
Okay.
Right. So that's the place where, Pradeep, the game is going to be played. But as I said, it's speculation. And I hope the people who are listening to this podcast, they will
Yeah.
look at the possibility from this angle, that
Yeah.
start being prepared, instead of being a sitting duck and then waiting for the attack to happen, and then trying to see, what
Mhm.
best can be done.
Yeah. Okay. So, as you have touched upon some of the emerging trends, right, in some of the cyber crimes. So, I would like to understand on AI and then cybercrime, what are the further insights that you can provide on emerging trends and then the different strategies with reference to this AI cybercrimes?
So the cybercrime, again, means just look at some figures, Pradeep, and they're interesting, again, to make the podcast interesting from the viewer's perspective. So I
Mm-hmm.
was trying to dig information on cybercrime, and it seems that uh, the cost in cybercrime, or the money which is there in cybercrime, is close to few trillions, right?
Okay.
And this is more what you say lucrative than the drug business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it is so lucrative, and the think of it, this is sophisticated as well,
Yeah.
because there is nothing physicality which is involved. See, drug means a physical what you say transfer, right? And the possibility it'll get caught and those kind of things. Here
Yeah.
the trail is also not there. Everything is well connected and everything, right?
That's true.
So
Yeah.
this is the place where what you say that where the people are acting on, or why the people are acting on, right?
Yeah.
Now let's look at some of the examples which are there, Pradeep, and some examples I'm taking from way back in the sense, let's say, go to the Second World War, right?
Mm.
And that this machine was there, Enigma, right? And it used to code the messages. The Germans used to code the messages,
Mm-hmm.
and British wanted to decode these messages, right?
Okay. That's
And
true.
there is a very beautiful movie on this, which is Imitation Games,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this movie shows that if there were certain clues, right, and I can reveal some of the things. Movies pretty old, so hope I'm not a spoiled sport, or and the people who are going to watch. But
Yeah.
the way they break the code is that there are certain patterns
Mm-hmm.
which they found were always there in every podcast or
Correct.
every cast which was happening,
Okay.
right? And this became their clue to break rest of the messages,
Mm-hmm.
right? So think of it that E is always coded as something, and they were able to decode this.
Yeah.
And now E is the most happening letter, which
Mm.
is there in English. Now,
No.
if E is decoded, let's look at which is the next most one, and then maybe So they were able to latch on to some of the clues. Otherwise, breaking Enigma was next to impossible. The coding was so strong.
Correct.
Now, this is the place where do we leave certain kind of clues when we are developing our systems, which
Okay.
makes them vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is something which is on the protection side. Now
Okay.
look at another example, which is and this example I'm taking from it's a Netflix series you may have seen, this Black Mirror,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Yeah.
this Black Mirror series talks about very futuristic AI things which are there, right? And the one which I'm particularly talking about, the name of the series is, just let me take it from the paper, which I have Hated in the Nation. That's the name of this particular episode. And
Mm-hmm.
this episode is a beautiful episode on cybersecurity, IoT, and the havoc it can create. Right.
Okay.
And this one is something which is honeybees have died. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the government has come with a possibility that there are autonomous uh, devices which are in the form of insects now.
Okay.
Right. So they are called as ADI, if I'm right. Yeah, they are called as ADI, autonomous drone insects.
Okay.
They are doing the job of pollination,
Okay.
right? And now they are doing the job of pollination pretty good, but they have been provided with certain capacity and capabilities, basically, right? One
Mm-hmm.
of the capability is that they are having a camera associated with them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
in principle, the camera is supposed to be of a particular kind that things are blurry.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems that when the program was getting designed, government, instructs the scientist that camera will be better quality,
Mm-hmm.
and it can do face recognition kind of thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point of time, a rogue element comes into the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And exploits this vulnerability, right?
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
this is again, I'm trying to say that when the systems are getting designed, on occasion, the vulnerabilities are left there. And if you think that IoT is the time, IoT's time has come, this is the place where the things could be very, very. So, again, if AI in cybersecurity needs to be looked at, AI has to understand all of this, where what has to be put as a capability.
Okay.
If the capabilities become sophisticated, somewhere or the other, they may get exploited. So when the system is getting designed, Pradeep, and this is the place where I feel in any AI system, you have to have end-to-end design. You
Correct.
have to have end-to-end goals, right? Because otherwise, what you are doing is you are leaving too much on the table and it may get exploited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this particular case, when, hated in the nation, if the design was that it is only for pollination, right, things would have been particularly okay if a fuzzy, image is getting captured by them. But
Mm-hmm.
it became a surveillance program, and
Yeah.
now it can be exploited. So this is the place where we need to be that let's try to see that the AI systems which we are creating, and we don't have a choice, Pradeep.
Yeah.
We have to create AI systems for IoT because that's the way the delivery will happen.
No.
Delivery will happen in the sense, let's say, think of it, lamppost acting as a security device,
Mm-hmm.
right? So lamppost is there, and anybody who feels threatened, they just go next to the lamppost,
Okay.
right? And the camera is there, and you can raise your hands, and then it's known where are you. That's it.
Yeah.
Point is, this is the way the future will be,
Okay.
and when the future is going to be like this, design of the future should be well articulated and well demonstrated that we are putting enough safeguards that it will not be exploited for some other things.
Okay.
So let's try to see, when the AI is coming to the picture in a big way, that
Mm.
AI systems, their capabilities are not made, what you say, infinite.
No.
Thinking that we will keep plugging new things into the place. So let's
Mm.
design a system which is all encompassing.
Okay.
So AI has to be used with its knowing that it's a very powerful tool. So please create AI systems which are having right sophistication, but not very high sophistication for the future use,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that we'll be using it in future for XYZ. Otherwise, those vulnerabilities can be exploited in very bad fashion.
Okay, okay. So anyway, you threw more light on the attack techniques that are being used on these AI and then cyber crimes and all. So regarding these cyber criminals, right? So how are these cyber criminals using AI to enhance their attack techniques? Yeah, we did discuss briefly about these attack techniques. So how do you think that these guys are using AI to enhance their attack techniques?
So think about it that vulnerability, see, any cyber attack means vulnerabilities need to be discovered,
Mm-hmm.
right? And AI gives you that possibility, especially when you look at Gen AI or any of these, anything which is generative in nature. And Pradeep, think of it that Gen AI, the way we look at, let's say, LLMs and these ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are the new ones, but generation was always there.
Mm-hmm.
In AI, generation possibilities always existing through different tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when these generation capabilities existed, think of it
Mm-hmm.
that the way you are looking at the possibility that generative AI is generating text, generative AI can also generate certain other things which are going to enhance the possibility of attack.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it that I'm not sure about a particular vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to discover it. I'll keep pinging in different fashion by near about things as well, right?
Okay.
And then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find that weakest spot in the system. And
Okay.
as soon as that weakest spot is known to me, now this is available to me. And means this is the way the generative AI or AI when we are looking at the thing, right? And if you look at it, the initial discussion, Pradeep, if we touch upon,
Mm.
people are looking at multimodality, for example. We are looking at digital arrest, for example, right?
Mhm.
Any of these things can become more sophisticated by using AI. The IVR calls which are made to you, they are becoming sophisticated, right? They are able to, let's say, almost drive you towards the place where you may start understanding that, oh, there is something which is, it is related to me. So think of it, let's say a blank call comes to me, Pradeep, right?
Mhm.
And this call is saying that in bank XYZ, your account is getting frozen.
Okay.
Right? Now think of it if XYZ is not the bank where I operate,
Mhm.
I may not click.
Correct.
But if XYZ is a bank where my account is, my possibility of clicking becomes higher.
Correct.
Now, using AI and let's say this personal data, which is still on the lower side, if you look at it,
Yeah.
it's a possibility, my HDFC account or my ICICI account or, uh, think of it any international account, they
Mm.
may be, already part of some database which have been already compromised.
Correct.
We know that, the databases are getting compromised. I give data for some reason and it gets for some other reason.
Correct.
Now, this personal information being available, the attack which can happen will be so much personalized
That's true.
that distinction capabilities will go for a toss. Because if it starts talking about, think of it, my last four digits of the Aadhaar, for example, it
True.
starts, last four digits of my PAN, because government says, or, that you mask rest, but four is okay. Now, this information is somewhere.
Mhm.
If this is the way the attack happens, it becomes so much difficult to disambiguate.
Yeah.
And this is one part. Think of it that my personalization gets leaked to that extent. So think of it, certain sophisticated systems. They say two-factor authentication, right? But at the same time, a continuous monitoring is happening. So my click stroke, right? Or from the device from which I'm logging, my IP address, which is there.
Mhm.
Point is, all of this now from a perspective of, let's say, a bank is having all these device binding and everything being done.
Okay.
My device is compromised. My personal information is already there. And now, without my knowledge, this device is making one call to the bank, right?
Okay. That's
Two
interesting.
factor authentication. Where will it go?
That's true.
So it, now you are seeing the picture that, sophistication is more personalization that I'm not even able to distinguish. But at the same time, on the other side, the bank or the system which is there, they are not able to distinguish whether it's Hemant Mishra who is logging
Mm.
or it's somebody who is the avatar of Hemant Mishra who is logged.
That's true.
So it's going to be, think of it that tools, AI becoming more sophisticated, personal information floating around the way it is floating around, right?
Mm.
And some of this gets leaked if you look at it, right?
Correct.
Facebook, the data got leaked. So
Yeah.
many places we see, we keep hearing that, the emails got leaked, this happened. This information in the hands of the cyber criminals is giving them those sophistication which AI now can help them use this information and create something which it's difficult to detect basically.
Yeah. So, what strategies can organization use to combat these AI-driven cyber threats, which we are referring to now?
So one very simple strategy which Pradeep means,
Mm.
obviously, we have talked about tools which, right? What is
Mm.
the volume and this and that and all those things, that we need to. But
Mhm.
think of it that as a customer or as a person,
Mhm.
more is at stake, put more friction.
Mhm.
That is something which is as easy as what I can think of, right?
Okay.
Because nobody will mind it at the end of the day. So let's
Okay.
say there is a database which is, let's say the credit card database has been put in certain fashion. You have done all your things, let's say as an organization, we have encrypted it, for example, right?
Mhm.
All of this has been done, which, 128 or 256-bit encryption. Everything you have done. But can you put certain friction how it needs to be accessed, which
Mhm.
is more than the friction which could be for, let's say, the database about, let's say, what is the name of the person whom you need to contact or the phone number? Because let's say, think of it that
Yeah.
with the phone number, the customer care people need to approach, right?
Correct.
This way of looking at the thing is, I think, the most reliable handle.
Okay.
Need based access, one of the most reliable handle.
Mhm.
If need is not there, you cannot have access. And now these are not, none of them are AI driven, if you look at it, right?
Mhm.
AI is something which could be a layer on top of it.
Mhm.
That Hemant Mishra had the access, but can using AI, I can figure it out that it is not Hemant who is trying.
Mhm.
Maybe time of the day, the way I'm trying to approach, right? Um, Different other things which could be there. And that's the place, even for the non-actors or the people who are having access,
Mhm.
have more checks and balances. And from the user's perspective, let's say, two level of authentication when you're maybe making a payment of 5 lakhs. But if this 5 lakhs becomes 50, I may not mind having a third layer of authentication.
Yeah.
Just because the risk is higher, right?
Correct.
So certain things, my feeling is they are very basic in nature,
Yeah.
and we have to evaluate them very seriously. And believe me or not, I feel that there is so much which is happening.
Mhm.
India is on occasion ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
Pradeep, on many of these things. RBI had this guideline that zero day authentication kind of thing, or
Mhm.
zero shot basically. So think of it that if you put the ATM card, you can do only one transaction.
Correct.
Pretty nice, right?
Yeah.
So two-level authentication, means this is something. Now, RBI said that, okay, we know that there is a friction and people are not liking it.
Mhm.
So they said up to 5,000. Earlier, the limit was 2,000, if I remember. You can tap.
Correct.
So
Nice.
we are ahead of the curve on many of these things, if I look at it.
Correct.
Digi, for example,
That's true.
right? You just enter, but then see the the pro is a very seamless entry into the airport. But
Correct.
the cons will also evolve in the time to come.
Exactly.
Then do we have enough, what you say, factor of authentication?
Yeah.
Face is something which is good, and it's pretty okay. But the situation is, it's a very high profile area.
Yeah.
So maybe you need more sophistication.
Yeah.
So every place as the level of, the, what you say, the security which is needed, whether it's a
Mhm.
government system or whether it's totally online, because the things are getting blurred over a period of time.
That's true. That's true. Anyway, like as you while you are mentioning about the organizations how they combat on these AI-driven cyber threats and all, you also touched upon regulatory bodies and then governments and then how we are ahead of time compared to other countries and all. So just to dig deep into this, how do you think can these law enforcement agencies leverage AI to track and mitigate cybercrime activities?
Hmm. That's a weak area, Pradeep.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a weak area because the kind of resources which are needed,
Uh-huh.
right? The kind of what you say, manpower which is needed.
Yeah.
Many government agencies may not have been able to put
Mm.
the resources or the manpower in the right fashion.
Yeah.
And think of it that On Pradeep, I try to give examples on the basis of real life. So let's
Mm.
say in India we have done very low level what you say authentications and these things, right?
Mhm.
Because it is reasonably okay, right?
Yeah.
And they mitigate the risk of fraud in a very good fashion. Think of it that in a very good developed country, you may
Mhm.
have radars on the road maybe every few kilometers or something, right?
That's true.
They
That's
help in speed control. In
correct.
India, on many occasions, you will see that we have speed breakers.
Yeah.
Now, speed breaker is a very low cost device if you want to look at it as a device, right?
Yeah.
So India has on many occasions adopted those low cost devices, right?
Mhm.
And maybe there are places, where there are people who are putting very high cost device. Now, this is the place where the ROI factor comes into the picture, Pradeep.
Correct.
Because see, I can say that I'll use the most sophisticated device for everything, but that's
That,
not the way AI needs to be deployed.
correct.
You have to look at what is the ROI, what is the right place, what is the right, what you say, the kind of attacks which may have happened.
Yeah.
Because if most of the attacks can be managed by the simpler tools, your ROI is pretty good in that case,
Correct.
right? So when the governments are there, they have to have a multi-pronged strategy, the way the organizations, right? Now,
Yeah.
let's say, when you are looking at different agencies which are there, NASA, for example, I'm
Mhm.
sure the kind of sophistications they may have built for
Mm.
that kind of facilities will be much higher as
Yeah.
compared to, let's say, another place, which could be still defense organization, but maybe needing less. So government is also pretty much what you say aware that AI has its own costs. One reason. Second is AI has its own vulnerabilities, Pradeep.
Correct.
The biggest vulnerability of the current AI is it is like a black box.
Yeah.
Many a times its vulnerabilities are not even known to us
Mm.
because it's a black box, right? So think of it the way I was mentioning to you. Let's say there is a AI based system, complete AI based system. It's
Mhm.
almost like a black box. It is having certain vulnerabilities that if certain kind of features are given,
Mhm.
it will go wonka. Now, using the AI on the other side, a criminal can try to exploit, give the features, its variations, and everything, and you are getting the null most of the time. But then you
Mhm.
get one hit, right?
Okay.
And this is something which happens on and off, even in a good system, Pradeep. So think of it when many of the current AI systems, when they get going to deployment,
Mhm.
on occasion they go totally off the mark. Their
Correct.
predictions are off the mark.
That's
Why?
true.
Because certain conditions happen which were not thought through.
Yeah.
And then we go into the debugging and everything, and then we try to. The point is, AI is having this vulnerability. So systems totally being AI driven is
Mhm.
again a problem statement for me. I will prefer that there is a mixture of things which are happening. And at
Mhm.
the same time, maybe this is the place where we did not touch on one topic, which is explainability. That
Yeah.
maybe a part of the AI which we want to deploy should
Mhm.
have some explainability as well,
Yeah.
because it will help us from the reduce the vulnerabilities, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a multi-pronged strategies. Governments on occasion may be doing it, but a lot of it is not visible to us.
Correct.
And if
That's
you look at it, the attack which I was mentioning, that Stuxnet's attack, right? It
yeah.
shows that there are experts who may be sitting and they may be doing something. A
Mhm.
very similar attack on occasion, which comes really into the mind is this explosives which are in the pager,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. The recent
So they
example of
are
Ukraine.
experts, Pradeep,
Yeah.
very
Exactly.
sophisticated ones.
Yeah.
Maybe there are things which are happening under the ground and we are
Yeah.
not aware of them. So
Exactly.
I'm not in a great situation to say that is the government well equipped or not. Maybe
Yeah.
they are well equipped, maybe they're doing. But at the
Yeah.
same time, the thing is that vulnerabilities will always be there. Right. It's a cat and mouse game.
That's true. That's true. Agree. Very good insights. Very good insights. So anyway, we are reaching to the end of this discussion. So thank you very much for touching upon generative AI and its impact on cybersecurity, and what are the organizations controls that they need to implement, and so on, right? And also you get very good insights on AI and cybercrime, what are the emerging trends, and then defense strategies, right? And how the law enforcement agencies can leverage on AI and so on. So it was fantastic insights. So I mean, a lot of things that I got to know during this discussion. So it
I'm
was
so
really good.
glad, Pradeep.
Yeah,
So
please.
some of the places, Pradeep, means before leaving, uh,
Yeah,
cell phone data being used for crime
yeah,
detection. Now people have started almost feeling that, but it's a very strong footprint.
correct. Exactly.
So these are happening on the when we are talking, as we are talking basically, right? A
Correct.
lot of crimes are getting detected because of this, and think of
Yeah,
it, the possibility where it can lead to when more signals are available.
exactly. Yeah, understand. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have a lot of digital footprints there, and then all personal data, and then you can't, check or validate what apps you are installing, and then what malware are installed in it. So that's an interesting area as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
thank you for your time, and then we will keep in touch, and then we will get in touch with you for many more podcasts, and then other
Definitely, Pradeep. More than
events.
happy to be associated with you, and
Yeah,
especially this is the place where I felt very happy to have this discussion
yeah,
because more number of people understanding these, and I'm talking about, see, experts are already maybe knowledgeable.
correct.
The people who are in public domain, they understanding these things in some nuanced way,
Yeah,
they can safeguard themselves. Now,
exactly.
this is something which is, the biggest ROI which we can have from
Yeah,
such podcasts, right? So
correct.
I'm very happy to be associated, and
Yeah,
thanks for the invitation once again.
thank you very much. Thanks for
Right,
your time.
right.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Same to you.